From Immersive Labs, this is Cyber Humanity. Hello all, I'm your host Chris Pace, joined once again by Immersive Labs Chief Cyber Chap Max Vetter.
Hello.
Product Guy Paul Bentham.
Hello.
And finally, Threat Research Ninja Kev Breen.
Hello.
In these podcasts, we try to focus on the human side of cybersecurity with a bit of tech thrown in, social engineering, hacker motivations, cyber crisis scenarios, and more. And essentially, these podcasts come in two flavours, either us ranting about themes close to the hearts of security types, or us chatting about threat and security stuff from recent weeks. And this episode is one of the latter. Now, we're going to begin this week by looking at a story about the CISSP, or CISSP, which comes across very badly in audio because it's all S's and P's. But I'm going to say CISSP, which is a security certification. I'm not going to call it a qualification. That's a debate we're probably going to have in a minute. But what I thought it would be good to do is to find out from everyone, what is the certificate that we are most proud of? Kev?
The one I'm most proud of is a 4-week cross-country military driving course.
Paul?
I thought I was going to do a joke one. Now you've made it like a proud thing. What is it, Paul? What is it? Well, I was going to say my Java certified programmer from 2004, which I was very proud of at the time, but now is kind of a little bit out of date.
No, really? 2004? Sounds like you could still do something with that.
Hang on.
We're on lockdown. There's shortages of stuff.
I'm going to say my degree from the University of Bristol.
Right, Max.
My B license in skydiving, which means I've done over 50 jumps. Or
50 jumps.
64 to be precise.
Let you in on a little secret. Before we started recording, Kev said he had a license to kill that he had to renew every year.
When I was serving in the military, we had to recertify every year on the ranges to say that we were correctly certified to be able to shoot and follow the card alpha. The legal.
Did they give you a piece of paper for that?
You had a piece of paper every year. We also had to do like sexual harassment training and all the other stuff as well. But the range
is that linked?
The range is way more exciting.
Wow. Chris Pace, you've got
the hermit.
Hang on a second, everybody. Chris Pace hasn't talked about his favourite certificate.
Oh no, there's not even a competition. I am a certified grill master with the Weber Grill Academy. Which my wife bought me for my first Father's Day. So I know how to do like beer can chicken on a barbecue. We even did pizza on a barbecue.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Not pizza.
Yeah, pizza on a barbecue.
Yeah, but
so anyway, I'm very proud of my. I always say Weber. Anyway, I'm very proud of my Grill Academy certificate. So all this is leading up to the fact that essentially some examination body somewhere, and I can probably dig out the acronym of who it is, has said that basically doing a course in a nice hotel in the home counties basically now means that you know everything you'd ever need to know about information security, and it's as good as a master's. And so I guess that leads to questions about what actually is in a CISSP and what's it useful for? Why is it useful? Is it useful at all? I'm sure everyone in the group has views. I should also caveat this by saying we're very aware that we work for a company that provides a method for delivering cyber skills. So we're going to attempt to be as unbiased as possible.
I'm not going to try to be unbiased.
Okay. Well, I will attempt to bring the balance.
4 years to get my masters, so I'm gonna. That's the bar.
Yeah.
So it's just the time that it takes.
So I turned up.
It's a 5-hour exam, so 5 hours.
It took everybody else. It took everybody else 4 years as well. Like it wasn't just me. I'm not like a remedial.
Twitter is pretty aflame about this. People are mainly annoyed that you also have to keep paying for it. So there's a thing with CISSP where once you've done it, it costs you money to do it in the first place, and then every year you have to hand over money to someone to basically keep that certificate.
Yeah.
Would you have to do another test every year?
No, not a test. You just have to recertify it and then show you've got CPE credits, which will allow you to recertify and pay money. So they just take money for nothing, basically. But yeah, I turned up on the first day of my CISSP course. It was a 5-day classroom course. And I
Was it in a nice hotel in the home counties?
It wasn't. It was in a very nice building in London. But I walked in the room and I said, "Oh, I think I'm in the wrong room," because I literally did this. Said, "Oh, I'm in the wrong room because there's no computers in this room, and I'm here for my CISSP course." And the instructor's like, "Oh no, there's no computers," and I was like, "Oh, I did an information security course with no computers for 5 days." So that gives you an idea of the kind of what
Mine was the same.
Like.
Wait. I have all manner of questions about this. So this thing, which is equivalent to a master's degree,
Okay,
you
he's
get
really
to do
not gonna be unbiased.
I'm not being biased. I'm not being cyber about this. I'm being masters-ish.
Yeah, I think
this.
I think you're attacking the equation to a master's rather than the CISSP itself.
Wait. So you do 5 days in a classroom, just blah 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 blah, cyber, and that's a master's equivalent. Who has said this?
There's a big book as well. So I did the same as Max. I went to the course, was a hotel out in the countryside somewhere, like all expenses paid, was great. No laptops, like nothing, just reading this big massive book. And it was 10 security domains back when I did that. And they went like, yeah, so the exam, you've got 6 months to take the exam. It's like 5.5 hours. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good, thank you.
Well, the exam's 5 hours.
Yeah, it's very long.
Is it open book as well? Don't tell me it's open book.
I don't know actually. I never looked that closely into it because I was.
Did you actually do it, Max? Did you do the exam?
No, I didn't either because I did the course and then I got a job at Immersive Labs and I was like, well, I don't need that.
Which leads to my next question. I sense that this is a certification that is potentially more useful for getting a job than actually doing one. Is it one of those? I think
so. And the only argument I'd say is if you're a practitioner, this is completely useless. If you're a manager who needs to understand, like, if you've got to bring risk to it, like maybe, but even then, I don't think I can justify it to myself. I'm trying.
If it's information security management principles, it covers a lot of information, as the 5-hour exam would suggest.
Also covers fire escapes.
Yeah, and big doors and gates.
Is this one of those ones that people put on their thing on LinkedIn where they'll be like, "I'm
everyone,
Paul Bentham,
yeah, anyone who's got it, put it on LinkedIn."
CISSP.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, so one of my favorite tweets about this is, and I open quotes, "Cool, why get a master's degree when you can drop $2,000 on a 5-day boot camp where they hand you the answers and then invigilate the exam? I'm all set. Thanks, EU." And somehow they've made this Europe's fault, but I love the rest of the tweet.
And that's the problem, isn't it, with the cyber certifications, is that you only do it for the certification. So if you don't get the certification, you're not a happy customer.
CV sift.
Already, yeah. It's
all about the CV sift.
So I've been doing some quick Googling here. Like this CISSP thing, it is closed book. You don't get to have your book with you whilst you're doing the exam. So that's the first.
So you have to remember everything that you've spent the last 5 days.
You have to have a huge amount of knowledge retained.
Just wait a second here.
You have to have a good memory to pass an exam.
Wait a minute. You guys have been misleading me. You need 5 years of cumulative paid work experience in 2 of the 8 domains.
Yeah, they do.
Well, you don't need that to get a master's, so there you are.
Yeah. So that's harder than a master's. You don't need to have done a job at all to get a master's.
They do CV checks, but not like particularly hard. Like they'll say, have you been in the industry for? They won't check it that hard. I know lots of people who came for the course who were just like, yeah, I said I was in the industry, and they went, okay. So I don't think it's.
Oh wow, Max, are you claiming like large scale fraud?
That's fraud.
But he hasn't told us anything about who's running the course, which is very
by
smart
the users, not by the the actual invigilators. But shall I tell you what I do with my CISSP book? And I actually
does it prop up your desk?
No.
Or
So
is your laptop on top of
flower pressing?
No. Any other guesses?
We could do this all night.
Great game.
What I use it for is it's downstairs by my lug burner, and I literally use it to light a fire.
It's the perfect kind of paper.
I'm not kidding. That's what it is. It sits by the fire,
Yeah.
and that's what I use, which suggests that the book isn't been that useful for me since the course.
Said Chief Cyber Officer Max Vetter.
Yeah,
I've found some more stuff out. You can, if you do
Yeah.
have another certification from like loads of other like certified ethical hacker and all that stuff, that counts for a year's work experience.
So basically, if you do it, just so that I'm clear about what you've just said, if you do a load of other exams, it qualifies you to do the exam to get a certification that proves that you've done that exam.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Wow.
I've only done a little bit of googling,
It's just getting
so
worse.
I might be a little. But here's the thing, right? Those other exams that you can use to get a year's work experience, they're open book.
They also have crown
Right.
and like we guarantee you will pass at the end of your course.
This is amazing. I can't believe I spent tens of thousands of pounds to go to uni, and I could have just done this.
This is the well. That of course
What a
that is
waste of
essentially
time.
what the whole. That's essentially what the whole of Twitter is saying. Is lots of people who've done masters and some people who've done masters in cybersecurity specific domains are a little bit upset that now they're essentially being told you can just pay for this and it covers
we
you.
don't know which masters it's comparing though. I think you can do a masters in surfing, so it might be comparing to a really useless masters.
How much does this thing cost? How much? I mean, how much we pay? How much you have to pay for it?
Depends whether the boot camp's about $5,000, I think.
No.
If you do-
The annual thing to keep it, because that's the other ridiculous thing. I've got my certificate and I've got it forever. I have to pay every year for this thing.
It's a few £100. It's
Yeah.
it's not break the bank money,
ridiculous.
but it's still.
Whoa, privileged boy. That's a lot of money.
Check your privilege.
Sorry.
I think it's $125 a year. Yeah.
Kev, do you know or anyone else know? Do people stay certified? Because I was thinking about doing the exam. If I would have done the exam, I wouldn't have paid every year. Even I've got it. I put it on my CV. Who do people check?
So the reason for me going and attending is when I was leaving the army and doing that career transition out of military life into civilian life, a load of us went and did it literally just for the CV sift. And by the time I'd gone and done it, I already had a job anyway. So I was like, that was a big driver for why bother. And I know that some of the other people on the course with me didn't renew after they'd got their first job.
Yeah, loads of people don't renew. I mean, one tweet that I quote regularly, and that's not actually off the back of this. It was from another. They were raising basically gripes about having to pay to renew it. Was I feel like my career is being held hostage by a piece of paper. I think people because there are so many. Well, because of the CV sift thing, he like Kev's right. There are so many. There are so many bits of machinery that are looking to sift through, and again, we were trying not to be biased, but there are so many bits of machinery these days, AI things that are looking to sift through CVs to identify people who are right for roles or not. The HR part of end of the recruitment process, that having stuff like this missing from your CV when you apply for a role at a particular level becomes extremely difficult.
So I think my biggest gripe, other than the fact that it's possibly useless, is that whole paying to renew every year with CPE credits. The whole point of a certification is to prove that you know a thing. And this is the same for SANS courses. You have to pay to renew, and you pay to renew by doing some other SANS course or some other course. Like the certification is supposed to prove that you know this skill set. Doing some other course and then paying, I haven't learned, I haven't refreshed, I'm not proving anything. It's literally just a way for them to make money. It's not continuous development.
The game that we're in is constantly changing. So therefore, that big book that you've got, Max, if you weren't burning it every night, how much of it is, how much of it do you think is still relevant? The irony is, you could open that book in 5 years' time and say, oh, hang on, turns out only the bits about the fire doors are still relevant.
That was the whole point, right, of why immersive labs were set up in the first place, was a way of assessing practical skills as a kind of counterpoint to the whole certification of 100 multiple choice questions or whatever, where there's no actual practical skills used. Although, having said all this, CISSP is actually one of the better respected certs out there in the cyber world, which is then saying something. After everything we've said, it's still, people still respect it more than a lot of the others.
Okay, so we're going to move on from this in a minute, but I just had one thing that I wanted to say about that, and I think that's because the certification itself is used for the purposes of getting a promotion or another job or having your CV show the things that it needs to show on it. And I think that's totally different from gaining practical skills that help you with the job that you do every day. And I think that tension is what is actually causing problems with the, to use the phrase skills gap. That's what's causing the problem there. It's not a skills gap really, it's a perception gap. It is, if I'm looking to recruit someone at a particular level and I'm looking for that certification every time, and there might be really good people who don't have that certification, potentially for perfectly valid reasons, then I'm missing out on a whole load of talent that I could be using. So I think there is a continual and perpetual tension between what an organization thinks they need in terms of a person for a job versus the actual skills that person has to sit at a desk and do that job.
Yeah, I ran a few roundtables late last year in over in the US and with various different CISOs, and I asked that question about, well, what do you use certs for? And actually what they all said, none of them said they recruit through certs anymore, but what they do use them for is job satisfaction. So, if you do really well, we'll send you on a cert. So it's kind of like they were all saying they flipped it. They didn't use it to recruit. They used it then to keep people happy, basically.
The training's valuable at the time, especially if you're doing like technical certifications. It's the aging of it that doesn't do very well. And that's why I don't like that pay to renew.
Great. Right, on to the next thing. So talking about the value of getting hands-on with stuff, some of you may have heard about vulnerabilities in Saltstack that were uncovered maybe a week and a half ago. And Kev's just going to take a bit of time to talk to us about what those vulnerabilities were all about. What did they find? What's happened? Why is everyone so frantic about it?
So this was So let me roll back a bit. So Saltstack is a tech stack which is used for like orchestration across organizations. So you use it to build machines, to control them, to do distributed installations, and that kind of stuff. And it's very, very powerful. The idea being you have one master, which administrators will issue commands to, and then those get pushed out to all of its minions. So if you're running a fleet of web servers, you can use one thing to control them all instead of doing it all separately. So that's the principle of Saltstack. It's really big. It's used a lot. And F-Secure, they were looking at this and they discovered a vulnerability in the master. And this vulnerability is basically an authentication bypass. So as an unauthenticated user, I can access your master remotely, and I can issue commands which will run either on the master or on every single minion that's connected to it.
Wow, that sounds quite bad.
That's pretty bad. And F-Secure did the right thing, so they worked with Saltstack to do the responsible disclosure. They took their time over it. They released all the patches, and then when the patches were out, then they came out and said, hey, this is the thing that's happened. And what F-Secure did is they said that they're not releasing any proof of concept. So they're not releasing any scripts that teach people how to do this. But what they did say was that any competent hacker should be able to replicate their research within 24 hours. And this was, I want to say, late in the day on a Friday. And I decided that I had nothing else to do during lockdown, so I was going to take this as a personal challenge. So dug into the technical notes that they had released, looked at the Saltstack's open source, so had to look at their GitHub, and after a couple of hours, I'd figured out where the flaw lay, how to replicate it, and generated a POC for myself to use. And that was all fun.
And I think about the same time, we were starting to see stuff going on. So whilst you were doing that, obviously other people were as well.
Yeah, so it was a little bit after that. So once I'd got a POC working, and this was somewhere around 10, like 11 o'clock into the evening, I was like, I wonder if other people have done this. More specifically, I wonder if any like attackers or groups have picked this up, because they're usually fairly quick to pick this up. So what I decided to do was see if I could build myself a honeypot. I'd learnt enough about Saltstack and all the communications, how it expected and set responses. So I took the next hour or so to build a honeypot and then deployed that out across a couple of EC2 honeypots that I run. So one in London, I put one in Ireland, and a couple over in the US covering the 2 different coasts. Set them off running, checked they worked, and then went to bed. Then I woke up in the morning and found that some of the internet was on fire. Checked my honeypot logs, and that matched what other people were saying. So at about 1:30 in Saturday morning, an attack group had reversed engineered it this in a similar way I had, and they were distributing Bitcoin miner, not Bitcoin miner, a cryptocurrency miner, XMR, I think it was.
Why? Okay, so it's all cool up to that point, and I'm expecting you to say, at that point, they unleashed some exploit kit that is like virtually undetectable, and the whole world collapsed, and tons of people got their information stolen, and it's the worst breach ever. But instead, you're like, and then they, having reverse engineered something that exploited this pretty like widespread vulnerability, they then did crypto mining. I don't understand. Am I missing something about crypto mining? Like, cryptocurrency is incredibly volatile. Cryptocurrency is incredibly volatile anyway. So you don't, like, one day you could earn like 30% less than you earned the day before. And B, like, is that it? Is that the best? Is that the best they can do?
It's really like, if you were, so once that came out, people started putting out the fires, and then we started getting reports of some larger organizations that had been hit. And one of them was DigiCert. So DigiCert confirmed that they'd been hit by the same attacker. It was the same crypto miner. DigiCert have some very, very sensitive data that the attackers just weren't even attempting to look for. So
I love this.
They could have had.
I love this.
They could have had something really significant, but they're a crypto miner, and worse than that, they're not. This is fully automated, so like my honeypots are still running. Like every 2 or 3 hours, this thing runs the exact same attack across the entire internet, just on repeat, sending the malware. Every now and again, they'll change the IP addresses, but you can completely track this group.
Why hasn't it been shut down?
Did DigiCert describe it as an advanced persistent threat?
Why hasn't it been shut down, Kev? This is a couple of weeks later, isn't it? Right, so it's obvious where this is coming from. It's not obfuscated, presumably. It's not like routed through like multiple different geographic regions. Not coming from like.
I don't want to get into the whole attribution piece, but the IP addresses and domain names—they're all coming from Russia at the minute. We know that Russia tends to use Russian actors. They tend to use things like what they call bulletproof hosting, so stuff that can't get taken down easily. For exactly these reasons, and we are seeing them constantly switching up their infrastructure. It's a distributed attack. There's not a lot you can do other than obviously patch.
Is there any analysis done on how much money they might have made through these crypto miners? Because clearly it's worth it for them to continue.
Well, it's only worth it at on a massive scale, isn't it?
And
that's the reality.
That's the nice thing about this, because they were never targeting. There's 2 parts to the attack. One is you can either target the Salt master and gain full control, or you can set commands to run on all the connected minions, and that's what they were triggering. They weren't going after the master. They were looking at running their crypto miner on everything that the master was controlling, just to hit that really widespread number of devices.
Interesting aside here, because I was reading a lot about this over the last couple of days. Saltstack started targeting me with advertising in social media on websites, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think you've understood why I'm googling you. This is awkward.
I don't want to buy it. I don't want to buy it.
I definitely don't want to buy it."
So the other thing that Saltstack did, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, is. So we built a POC, we built the labs around it, and we waited a few days for like other people to publish research, and for it to become like more public knowledge, and then we released as well alongside all those other people. Saltstack then went round and asked all the researchers to pull their POCs.
What, directly?
Directly.
Like they came to you directly and said
they came to us directly.
POC?
They went onto our GitHub accounts. They opened an issue asking us to basically embargo them until the 15th of May was their request.
Is that normal?
Absolutely not. Especially when you consider that this is actively being exploited in the wild and people are sharing all the indicators. And if you share the indicators, you automatically know the threat vector. So it's a really weird thing for them to say it's fine for the attackers to have it, but researchers, absolutely not.
Yeah, it feels to me like if you're on the right forum with the right other Russian people, you're probably sharing this around anyway. So what difference does it make at this point?
A sophisticated attack group is running with this. Whilst I accept that putting that POC into the hands of like script kiddies, but they're not going to be able to leverage the infrastructure to be able to run like really targeted and widespread campaigns. It's always a fine line between when do you release a POC and how much time do you wait, but I think they might have got that one wrong.
So Kevin, just on this question about why did you search just all crypto miners, but you are in source code though, aren't you? I mean, if I was, looking at this from a risk and threat modeling perspective, the attacker compromises one of my minions and gets it to run any arbitrary code on those minions. Are we worried that surely we're assuming those minions are isolated from the rest of the sensitive data in the company?
That's entirely dependent on what you're orchestrating. They might be your production servers, which are building and releasing new certificates. They could be releasing new software. They could have builds. They could have sensitive encryption keys. There's a lot of data that could be on there. But conversely, you're right. It might be something, those minions might be something really innocuous, like temporary test builds, which are spun up by a minion. So that is something that, as an organization, you'll have to do your individual use cases to determine your own risk.
So to me, all that stuff is super interesting, obviously, but I still love the fact that the best they could do was crypto mining. And I think it's just classic, and that in a way, it's classic of the whole, like, oh my God, it's a terrible threat, like information security, like everything's at risk. And then it's like, oh, they deployed a crypto miner.
And this isn't the first time we've seen this. If we look back to Bluekeep, so Bluekeep was forewarned that this thing is going to be massive. It's going to burn the internet down, like WannaCry levels of pain. And then Metasploit released the module after nobody did anything for months, and somebody deployed the Metasploit module en masse to deliver cryptocurrency miners.
I feel like that's the lowest bar of entry. But I love the fact that it's on a knife edge. So basically tomorrow they could deploy some horrible bit of ransomware. So we'll all look forward to that.
I think the rationale was that there was so much warning given out that's the only attack group that was left. Like nobody else figured it was useful to do anything with it except for those cryptocurrency miners. Although the same can't be said for the Saltstack one, because it was within 24 hours we were seeing live attacks out in the wild.
So Kev, I'm guessing at this point now you want to talk about some work you've done. Oh, actually, we should let Paul. Maybe we should let Paul. I don't know.
And now a word from our sponsors.
It's up for grabs now.
Well, I mean, it feels a bit bad that I would take credit here because I have done literally nothing. In fact, I haven't even done the lab. Kev has written labs on this. So if you really want to learn more about Saltstack, you want to understand how it's being exploited, you want to understand how it's being how to defend against it, head on over to Light Mode, the Immersive Labs Light mode, and you can get hands-on with these labs that Kev has spent hours of his life writing.
Weekends.
The magic word.
We
for
have
free.
Yes. For free.
Oh yeah, for free. And also, if you've paid for the platform, you can also get access to them. So that's great as well.
We don't just have the labs. We've got accompanying blog posts that go into more of the technical detail on both the offensive discovery methodology, so the process I went through on how I identified, how I reverse engineered the pains and stuff we went through. And then from the defensive side, we actually released a tool to help defenders analyze the binary log files that Saltstack generates so you can identify harm.
So essentially, we've been all over this. Been all over it.
I mean, obviously, I knew all of that because I've read both of those blog posts.
Yes.
They're great, Kev. You did great.
Thank
you.
you.
Great work.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, Paul. Now, Paul is up now, and he's going to talk to us about Thunder Spy, which he has picked just because of the name. I'm sure, just because of the name. Convince me you haven't picked it just because of the name.
Cool. I'm actually an expert on direct memory access.
Okay, well, this is your moment then.
Uh-huh.
Then
This
we
is
can
your
have
moment.
a great conversation, me and you, Paul.
Oh, Paul, you look nervous. I think a bit of pee just came out. Are you all right, Paul?
I think you introduced this whole thing really badly, Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Because you have to say it properly.
Wait, do I have to sing it like Shirley Bassey or something? Oh no, it wasn't Shirley Bassey, was it? It was Tom Jones, I think.
Thunder Spy.
Thunder Spy.
I mean, amazing. I mean, we talked about this before, or we'll talk about it in the future. I can't remember which. But the point is, Thunder Spy is a great name for a vulnerability, isn't it? It's the best, right? And as a person that only joined the intelligence agency because he wanted to be James Bond, this is right up my street. Thunder Spy, like it's a James Bond, isn't it? A James Bond film?
Thunderball.
No, a future one.
Oh.
Can you imagine?
No,
James Bond.
No, the names are a bit more oblique.
And the Thunder Spy.
The names are a little bit more like obtuse these days. But yeah, I hear you. I'm with you.
You're with me.
Yeah,
You're with me, right? Okay. So for those that haven't spent literally minutes researching this,
Literally whole minutes of my life.
whole minutes in between lunch and my next meeting, the whole exploit here is that it's an Evil Maid attack. An Evil Maid. I think this is a bit sexist in 2020, okay, but it's an Evil Maid attack, and it's the idea that if you can get access to a laptop that happens to be on or in the sleep mode, so not just off and in a safe, but actually on and locked, you can exploit it using a bit of kit that you've developed and direct access to it via the Thunderbolt port, which actually is the same as the USB-C now as well, which Kev, bail me out here.
Yeah, so there's another step you forgot to mention. You also need a screwdriver.
In your very in-depth research, there's a bit you forgot.
Yeah.
A bit you
I was getting to that. A bit of physical equipment is quite exciting because you have to actually change the flash on the Thunderbolt controller, on which you need physical access to by taking the cover off the laptop or the case off your PC, and you reprogram the flash to downgrade the Thunderbolt security.
Yeah, so
which is pretty cool, right?
It is, and DMA attacks, they're nothing new. Like we've had a couple of these before. This isn't the first one for Thunderbolt either. We had Thunderclap last year. I don't remember what
Thunderclap is a really bad brand. Can I just say, if I got Thunderclap, I'd be really worried.
But yeah, you're right. It's you take the back cover off, you attach a chip flasher, you flash the.
Whoa! I'm going to stop you there, Kev. This
You
sounds
flash
beyond
it.
This sounds beyond the capabilities of a maid.
This, yeah, we're
I'm
not.
But it's literally.
You got to be like. It feels like you
That
need
is
some level of
sexist.
certification.
you
need a
maid to get you in the
CISSP
room.
to do this.
You need a maid to get you in the room, or you need a maid's card, or just be able to clone cards, or like kick down doors.
But the whole point about this, right, is literally you can do it in 5 minutes, right? And you can then bypass. The whole point of the exploit is you get on there, you reprogram the flash, you then can downgrade the security on the Thunderbolt controller. Now you have direct memory access, which is really quite cool.
Yes.
Because and the whole point of Thunderbolt devices is that you can now, because you've got direct memory access, like if you were a PCI card, which then you can have external controllers, which is why you can have external GPUs and that kind of thing, which is really super cool, right? Great technology. And then they realized these vulnerabilities in 2019. They put this kernel DMA protection in, and all of a sudden this whole thing is kind of moot. But in 5 minutes, with a lot of specific kit, some screwdrivers, and a laptop that's turned on, you can get privileged access, and you can download. This is the whole thing, right? Off an encrypted drive.
It's already.
There's so many. There is so
I think
many
the problem here is
caveats.
it does say like, you can decrypt a whole drive, and it's like you can't decrypt the whole drive. It's already decrypted, and you can pull off the RAM, which has the decryption keys.
Yeah.
Because it's on.
But I've always wondered, surely, because physical attacks have always been there, right? If you got someone's laptop,
it's
you can
nothing new.
do pretty much anything, and especially if it's on.
Because I don't know if you know, you have the
So
laptop.
you can literally pull the RAM out. Can't you? Have you seen the freezing ones where you freeze the
cold
RAM,
freeze
you pull it
attack.
out of the machine, and it keeps the RAM for 10 minutes?
There's responder attacks where you can get the NTLM hashes by plugging in a USB stick, which then gives you the password. You can crack offline to then log in. Like, these kind of attacks are nothing new. It's a nice piece of research.
Let me tell you, and it's a very cool name, but let me tell you what, I took it, when I read about it, I took it especially seriously because me and my wife have just rewatched The Night Manager, which I realised is essentially a mini-series about sneaking in and out of other people's hotel rooms. And so when I read this, I was like, it's real. Like, never put anything in a hotel safe ever again. And also, we all know, because we've all read those articles online, about there are loads of ways to hack hotel safes as well. So even if you've put your laptop in the safe in sleep mode, you're done for.
Oh, wait. All you have to do,
turn the machine off.
Ain't no one got time for that. Turning it off.
I'll
joking?
caveat that with you need full disk encryption, because otherwise you could just turn it back on and you're essentially in sleep mode. But full disk.
But here's the point, right? Here's the real point, right? You're traveling. Let's say you're traveling, because this is like a maid. So I mean,
is it the hotel room again? It's the Night Manager again. See,
but I'm just saying, right? You're traveling. Like, do you A, take your laptop with all of your company secrets and your customer information on, or do you B, take a burner? Who takes their real laptop when they're traveling to a country where somebody is going to... No, they don't.
Why bother with a whole new laptop? It's a real pain, isn't it, if you're in a businessman?
Burner laptops. Surely you two of everybody take burner laptops when you travel.
I do. I have my Chromebook, and my Chromebook is blank until I get to wherever I want to be. Then I set up whatever profiles I want.
And you take a burner phone as well, right?
I don't do burner phones. I'm not that scared about privacy.
What?
My phone stays on my person.
If I was going to Russia or China, maybe, but I don't know any businessman who takes
exactly
takes burner.
Although all those trips to Russia and China that we go on, yes.
I was on a
what about Israel?
Well, it's definitely
I just hate the fact. I hate the fact that this is a good 950 words on Forbes. I just hate the fact that and it's Intel confirms critical new security. Come on, is this all we've got?
I didn't read the Forbes. It's not the Forbes article I've spent minutes researching. I went straight back to Eindhoven University and read their research paper.
I've leapt to the media again.
There is comments from a spook which says in inverted commas.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
They found the screws of the laptop under their desk. So
it was an agent. It was an agent who said he came back to his hotel room and the screws were on the. I'm like, whoever did that is terrible at espionage. That person is an awful spy.
A total true story. One time in a hotel room when I was abroad.
Where's this going?
My hair that I'd stuck with water across the gap fallen off.
Someone probably came to turn you down.
I've seen,
which is an experience you're probably used to.
I've seen that. I'm sure for my nephew who bought Spies for Dummies, and that's
Bond quote. Come on, stay with me. Somebody tell me which Bond film that's in.
Oh, I don't know.
Come on. People,
sure it's not sci-fi.
We're not all like you, and Alan Partridge with your Bond marathons.
Oh no, you're taking me to a dark place at uni where people used to call me Alan Partridge. I walked into the common room one day, and the whole of the people in the common room just went "aha" at me.
So which Bond film was it?
A low point. I can't actually remember. He's in the Caribbean. That's why I needed you, Kev. Bail me out here.
The other thing, Kev, is that the guy being quoted on this, the advice that he's given, the mitigation's the mitigation is difficult unless you're in the game. Take a burn device with you and all that. And Kev has just told us in 2 really clear and easy steps how to mitigate against it. But this article's too busy, spies, evil maids, people breaking into your hotel room, pew pew pew.
Yeah, so mitigations against this. 1, don't use an operating system from before 2019 that's 3 years old. 2, don't let people disassemble your device, because...
That's a brilliant.
And 3, full disk encryption, turn it off when you're done.
Can I give another amazing bit of mitigation? Do not let your device with all of your stuff on it out of your sight.
Especially if you've got significant secrets.
Yeah.
Or take a burner everywhere. A la Paul.
A burner. Dr. No, by the way. It's Dr. No.
No.
I'm quoting Dr. No.
I think, keeping up to date, having a backup and encryption, full disencryption. This isn't the first time I think we've ever.
It won't be the last either.
Boring. Now you're going to tell me to patch.
But yeah, update your operating system.
Hey, do I get one of those certificates that I can pay for that advice?
Yeah. You're an expert now.
I've got a towel. I got a towel I can sew them into.
One on each cheek of your trunks. Yeah. All right, we crammed a lot into quite a short period of time. I guess what have we learned? Don't let make sure you're certified so that you don't let an Evil Maid put cryptocurrency mining software on your laptop. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please do subscribe, rate, and comment wherever you get your audio content. And if you want to know more about Immersive Labs, including accessing those free labs on light mode, you can find us at immersivelabs.com or follow us on Twitter at Immersive Labs UK. Until next time, from all of us, goodbye.
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 Bye.